Well, I knew about the mine because I had done a school trip. I mean, that mine was basically for 5 years. When they initially built it, it was only supposed to run for 5 years. That's why everything was built out of wood in the mill and everything, because it would be easy to get rid of.
The mine kept finding as much ore as they mined every year, and so the mine just kept going and going. They couldn't get people to show up to work. There were so many mines around, people would quit and go to another mine. So they gave $1 an hour if you just showed up every day for 2 weeks. That pay period, you get $1 an hour raise, which is $1 on top of $3 is a pretty big.
Both Gordy, Matt May was there, Kevin May was there, Jeff May was there. We had 5 Mays there at one time. They said you have to know a May to get into here.
My name is Gordon May. I was born in Campbell River in 1954, married, 4 kids. Started at the mine in 1972.
My name's Dennis Rodbom. I was born and raised in Williams Lake and got married at 19, moved to Vancouver and worked for the city of North Vancouver.
My name's George May. I go by the nickname Doods. There's even some people that don't know my real name. I had one boss, Bob Ozerkovich. I was a maintenance supervisor in the mill, and he says, "We've got this George May on the books. Who is he? Where is he? We're paying him." And I said, "Well, sorry, that's me." "You know, you're Doods." I said, "No, my real name is George May."
Basically had to walk, well, how far would that be? About 1.5 miles, over a swinging bridge, 14-inch tailings line. Had to climb down ladders to catwalks, walk to the lake. Nighttime, all you had was a miner's lamp. And I was in the union for, 13 years. And then I took a job as production supervisor in the mill.
I saw an ad in the paper for a mining course in the Yukon. Finished the course, came back to Williams Lake, which is where I live. I phoned around or sent out resumes to different places, and the only response I got was Western mines on the island. Told my wife that I finally got a job and came over here. I didn't even know where I'd never been off the mainland.
My bigger brother was already working there. He says, "Hey, there's a job opening, do you want it?" I said, "Well, what is it?" He said, "Well, it's a janitor in bucking samples." I'm going, "I'm not going to be a janitor." And then he told me a couple months later that the job come up again. So I said, "Okay." I says, "I'm heading up there for an interview." And I phoned the guy that hires every day for weeks until he said, "Quit calling me, come up, have an interview, you can have a job." And that started, and it was great. And so then I went from there. I did a little bit of operation, like I was the reagent operator, and I was a filter operator. But I always wanted to be a millwright from like day one in my school years, right? So I talked to my foreman and stuff like that, and I said, "Hey man, I'd really be interested in doing a maintenance or a millwrighting job here." He says, "How do I get on for apprentice?" We filled out the paperwork, we put it in, and 4 years later, I become a millwright.
Got here on a Sunday evening, June 21st, 1972. And 7 o'clock at night, I went to try to get gas, to have enough gas to get out there. Nothing opened in town. So I was late for my job interview. I got home and I said to my wife, "Well, I got some news for you." And she said, "What, you don't have a job?" And I said, I have one now, but I didn't when I came here.
Back then, you went down to the Manpower building and they would have all these jobs that are available tacked on a bulletin board. First, I wasn't going to take the job. I didn't like that. I figured I'd be underground. I didn't like the idea of all that rock over my head. So I went up there, I found out the job entailed working for the mill. And was there for 42 years.
So I hired on as a laborer in the underground. Mill would refine the rock that got sent to the mill, and
all the ore is sent up over a conveyor belt. You crush it, from 6" to 3/8 of an inch. And then it goes into other bins.
And that would be trucked to town in 35-ton trucks, loaded in a warehouse at the spit here in Campbell River, and then loaded on ships. Went from, 120 employees at the time to 750.
Some of them wouldn't even take lunch breaks because they didn't want to get off their machine because they were paid by foot. You didn't dare get your machine off your machine. Somebody would jump on the way to go, and then you're sitting there and nothing.
Part of my job was to cut lumber, like on surface, milling trees into lumber, and like I said, we would provide lumber for the lodge. We gave them that bear, for instance, that they had on their... We tried to cooperate with the lodge, which was basically Strathcona Park and Friends of Strathcona. I think the mine did a lot and tried their best and had open houses and showed people. And
you know, there was no access until the mine put the road in. I mean, you couldn't even get to that end of the lake unless you were taking a boat.
Cream Silver wanted to get started. There was a protest at the end of Buttle Lake, and it lasted 3 or 4 days. And
You get a few different people, not a lot of people saying, you know, this mine owes me this, I don't like the mine and stuff like that. And I've had nothing good but a good experience, and I've been there over 40-something years.
Friends of Strathcona, and eventually became a partner in it. And I think the relationship grew. Probably still some people that don't like mining in the park, but a lot of those former members came over to like the mine.
And that's a positive for the mine as well. They will help, and if there's fires, they put out the fires and they monitor fires.
Across the fire, there was 2 cars already parked there. My perspective, if they would have got on it a little sooner. It was 11:30 at night, so I don't think they really got started till the next day, but it had worked its way up the mountain, and if it had crested and gone down, it could have gone all the way to Courtney. I know there was a couple of times when they were gonna chopper us out because the smoke would change and come right towards the mill, and you couldn't breathe, you couldn't see nothing. So, I mean, we've had fires, we've had floods, we've had windstorms up there like crazy. It's been deadly, you know.
You know, they're good about that, like if people are in trouble, and yeah, they will help, and if there's fires, they put out the fires and they monitor fires. And
The mine wasn't profitable at the time, it wasn't making money, and couldn't afford raises and to meet the demands of the union, and absolutely we're not going to do it.
Well, what I can tell you, both because you were both staff and I was hourly, it was tough. It was 17 months without a paycheck, the $1 an hour attendance bonus. They wanted we used to get $13 a day for riding the bus. They wanted to take all that away from us because, like Dennis says, they weren't making money, and we were going to hold tight to say, no, we are.
But there were times when I drove through, my window was cracked about this much, that was it. I wasn't getting out of that car.
4 times a day, Gordon.
So,
Well, yeah, everybody used to get a $25 turkey voucher. Then one mining company that took over stopped that.
Yeah.
So the union walked out for a day because they called it a wobble for the gobble. They weren't gonna, if we don't get our turkey, we're not working.
Was quite involved with doing some of the trails and stuff because we have Thelwood and Tennant, which we have 2 lakes up there that have pipelines to hydro places, right? And we have to keep that maintained for hikers. So we have to either walk up or get flown by helicopter and come down with chainsaws and all that kind of stuff. Normally on Tennant, there's a bridge that goes across the river that Myra Falls put in for the hikers, and usually every year that gets blown out. So we would go back up, fly stuff up, we fix it for the hikers for Strathcona. We were talking about how is the park compared to the mine and stuff like that. Like we had one incident up there that this lady come running up to the mill. She says, I was down at Myra Falls there. My dog had fallen over the edge, and it's sitting on an edge. It was about 6 inches wide, standing sideways. And she says, I don't know what to do. She says, if the dog falls, it's going to be dead, right? So I said, okay, no problem. I says, so I called the CERT team, which is the Surface Emergency Response Team. We got them together. I told them what it was. I says, we're not going to save a person, we're going to save a dog. They says, okay, well, let's do it. So we went down to the falls. We put all our ropes up because we had a rope rescue team and stuff like that. We put all the ropes up, and actually it was my son that I put over the bank in the harness. And as he was going down, he said to the lady, because it was a big German Shepherd, she says, if this dog's going to bite me, he says, I'm going to drop it. She says, okay, no problem. So he got the dog, he cuddled the dog, and we lowered him down onto the rock below, and she was great. 2 days later, this package come for us. It was, I think it was brownies that she baked for us. And it was gratifying. And we were in the papers, in the local papers and stuff like that. So you know what, it's just not the workers that we were trying to help. It was anybody that needed help, we would help, right?
Underground is a family, right? And anybody working underground will leave whatever they're doing to help somebody if they need to. And trust me, that's just, there's no question about it. You know, you can say you're a good hockey teammate, and if your buddy got checked, you'd go fight him. Not everybody will, but I'm telling you, everybody underground would rush to the aid, because I can tell you one time I did. A guy, Rick Tabelka, was a raise miner, and he had a raise going up and a wing off it, and he blasted 2 rounds. And so when he went back the next morning, it was twice the gas that he would normally encounter, and he succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning. And so he took his belt off and tied his belt to a ladder. And like I said, there was 22 guys at that mine, and 22 of us were there to get him down, and about 11 of us got gassed. But so I'm saying it wasn't a very wise thing to do, but it was our brother is in danger, and we all ran up there, and instead of doing it properly, soon after that I became a first aider and learned that, you know, should do that. Make it safe first. But at that point, at that time, he was coming home one time, and a group had parked right in the middle of the road, filming grouse walking across the road and 4 little babies. And Ronnie said, I come around the corner, they're right in the lane. He's spun around them and got every one of the grouse and the mother. Got them all.
Yeah.
I, months later, encountered a guy who fell down a raise and had a broken neck. And I'm 21, just a rookie, and the shift boss says to me, get him on the train and get him out. I don't want him to die on my beat.